Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters. And man, we have a great show for you.
good morning. Why am I small? I'm not small. Come on, man. How y'all doing? I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I was trying to go live in the event that I created. And for some reason, StreamYard and Facebook were saying, no, you're not going to do that. So I had to go back and recreate it. It took me a couple minutes to get the show back up and ready to go. But we got a good one for you today. I got a lot. I'm going to do my best not to go over. We obviously started 5 minutes late, so we're probably going 5 minutes over already. But we are going to dive into it. As always, this show is brought to you by DFYCRM, my CRM of choice. Excellent tool they built out there for insurance agents. Everything's already built for you. Open it up in the box, plug your stuff in, and hit the go button. That's pretty much how easy it is. And that is the one we are using and building a lot of our own custom work. But man, we got a packed show. I don't know if you might have seen, I didn't post this particular story in the Insurance Syndicate group. I made some comments about it in one of the other Medicare-centric groups, and then I posted the story on my personal page. But as any of y'all have ever followed my show at all, usually I talk about some fraud that happens in the Medicare space. It seems like almost weekly there's a story of someone getting convicted of defrauding Medicare in some capacity, and I'll usually bring it up and chat about it just to remind you that it's happening and make sure you're taking care of your clients out there and letting them know that it's real. But last week, I got a phone call from a Cedar Park, Texas resident. She actually is staying at the retirement apartment community pretty much across the street from our office. She called me looking for help because she suspected that her Medicare number was being used to fraudulently bill Medicare. Chatted with me for a bit. I asked her a few key questions to kind of see where she was coming from, and she had me pretty quickly convinced. So she invited me to come over and so she could show me some documents. She gave me her Medicare summary notice to look at, or a copy of it, I should say. And sure enough, man, a company out of Delray Beach, Florida, Sunshine Senior Solutions, had been billing her a little over $2,900 a month, or billing Medicare, not her, using her Medicare number to bill Medicare, a little over $2,900 a month for urinary catheters that she didn't want, didn't need, didn't ever use, and certainly never received. So we reported it together. Medicare is actually already aware of this company and said they're under investigation. I don't know how many millions of dollars it takes of investigation to finally go get them. But according to my buddy over at Physicians Mutual, Andrew Saul, he was also familiar with this company and said, hey, man, as far as we can tell, they've at least billed Medicare over $10 million because we at Physicians Mutual have received $2 million in claims. And we've already stopped payment a long time ago, so we're aware. I talked to my rep at Aetna Medicare Supplement, where she actually had her Medicare Supplement plan. Gave them a heads up. It's like, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware, but this client just proved to me that she is being defrauded, or her Medicare number is being defrauded, and Medicare is being defrauded. And since you guys have the supplement piece, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Maybe you're already aware, maybe you're not. He was super, super appreciative. That has all unwound into me getting on an interview with the journalist out of Florida that is covering the story, an investigative journalist. And we went not live. We did a recorded interview last week. I think, was that Friday or maybe Thursday? I forget now. That apparently will air on TV at some point. So stay tuned. You might see me on WPTV, Delray Beach, Florida. But hey, speaking of fraud, let's talk about some. Why not? Arizona couple pleads guilty to $1.2 billion. Billion with a B. Two people. This isn't a giant criminal ring. This is two, unfortunately, very creative people. in Arizona that defrauded Medicare out of $1.2 billion. This press release is on the Department of Justice website, their Office of Public Affairs. You can go to this website. You can search any type of press release you might be looking for, but this popped up in the headlines. This press release is actually from January 31 of 2025, but I found an article today, and this is what led it to me. I found an article in the, I think it was called the Arizona Central Press or something like that. I'm not sure. It was behind a paywall, so I could only view it temporarily. That was published today, which is what led me to look into this couple. But basically, according to court documents, Alexandra Gerke, age 39, and her husband, Jeffrey King, age 46, both of Phoenix, conspired with others to orchestrate the massive scheme. Gerke ran two companies, Apex Medical and Viking Medical, that contracted with medically untrained sales representatives to locate elderly patients, including hospice patients who had wounds at any stage, and they would order amniotic wound grafts, basically skin grafts that are made of amniotic tissue from the way I understand, from people that ladies that have C-sections that want to donate their tissue. They can use that for skin grafts. So they were basically ordering skin grafts for any size they could. They were over ordering them. Some of these people were in hospice, were basically terminally ill, and they were doing this. And next thing you know, $1.2 billion. There's quite a bit of stories about them out there. This is another article that I found in, where did it go? In Fine Law. Pretty interesting. This is a fairly recent one. This talks about a Medicare scammer sentenced to 168 months and $615 million in restitution. Same couple, right? Alexander Gerke, Jeff King, exactly what they're talking about here. Buoyed more than $1.2 billion generated from medically unnecessary skin grafts. Pretty wild. There is another article I found about him. Now, this one is pretty interesting. If you want to read it, read the story and laugh a little, this one here is quite funny. Glitzy Scottsdale couple jailed in $900 million in fraud. It reads almost like a lewd romance novel. He was a chiseled DJ with rugged good looks. She was a medical entrepreneur who could have passed for a model or actress. They met, fell in business, made millions, and bought a Scottsdale mansion. Pretty funny. It goes through the same thing, but it tells it in more of a story that is a little, it's certainly not fictionalized. They've got everything down to a T here, but the guy writes it like almost like an adventure story that this couple went on. But that is just one of many, many examples out there of fraud. Some of the things I included in my post that we tell our customers is, hey, look, you need to guard your Medicare number like it is your most prized credit card. Keep it very, very safe because Medicare fraud is absolutely real. And then review your Medicare summary notice. Like when there's bills or claims that are paid under your Medicare number, you will get a Medicare summary notice. Don't ignore it. Review it. Look for things that might be different, wrong, incorrect, fraudulent, and then report them. And there's a couple of phone numbers you can actually report to. You can certainly report to Medicare directly, 1-800-MEDICARE. That a lot of times might be a little longer phone call, maybe especially now. But they actually have the, I believe it's called the Medicare Senior Patrol. And that is another hotline that you can use. They answer that one pretty quick, or at least you can get a voicemail on there. But it does get picked up pretty fast. Moving along, I got two more articles and we're going to jump into some Medicare supplement training. Get excited. But again, unfortunately, we are still in fraud land. Check this one out from Humana. And this is definitely new. This was just released on the 10th. Court orders Humana to pay $90 million in a groundbreaking whistleblower Medicare fraud case settlement. Now, before I jump into this one, this is not the same lawsuit that Humana's wrapped up in along with Aetna, Elevance, GoHealth, eHealth, and SelectQuote. That's a totally different lawsuit that's going on right now and is currently sitting waiting for, as I understand it, basically waiting for judges to look at it a little closer. There's been a bunch of motions filed. Pretty much all the defendants filed a motion to dismiss the whole case. And they're just basically waiting for the judge to review those dismissal motions and either approve them or find that there's substantial evidence not to dismiss the case and move towards trial. That one's still sitting there. This one's basically done. Court orders Humana to pay $90 million. The whistleblowers, $32 million in attorney fees are also included in that number. $32 million just for the attorney. I think I picked the wrong industry maybe. But a federal court ordered Humana to pay $90 million to the federal government by September 24th for a groundbreaking whistleblower lawsuit settled in 24, accusing the health insurance insurer of fraud in Medicare Part D's prescription drug program. Who was the whistleblower? Well, this hero right here, Stephen Scott, former Humana actuary, alleged that the company submitted fraudulent bids to CMS for lucrative Part D contracts from 2011 to 2017, overcharging the government for medication. You can cruise on down. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but I want to point out a couple of key things. It's right here. For example, Scott also alleged that Humana maintained 2 sets of books to perpetuate their scheme. And supposedly that practice ended in 2017 once the government began investigating. DOJ later declined to intervene, apparently. But Scott was the managing actuary for the insurer at the time that he filed the lawsuit. As stated in the complaint, he was the insider with responsibility for modeling the cost of Humana's healthcare insurance benefits under different actuarial assumptions. Let's move on. A couple more quick points on this one that is pretty wild. Yes, again, according to the suit's allegations, Humana submitted false information in connection with its bids to the CMS to secure CMS's approval for offering Part D plans. Humana allegedly kept 2 sets of books, one with accurate finances and one with false financial projections. The latter, of course, was used to secure Part D contracts, creating a snowball effect. And where does it center? It centers around the basic Walmart plan. Right. As we know, Medicare Part D is the voluntary prescription drug portion of the lettered Medicare Parts A and B, C, etc. Medicare beneficiaries pay a premium for drug plans, and it's administered by insurers, yada, yada. Right? When insurers contract with the government to be a Part D sponsor, they must certify that their plans are actuarially equivalent or better than the defined standard benefit, though they might have some flexibility in how they organize their plans, deductibles, co-pays, formularies, and other components. If you don't understand what that means, if maybe you're a little newer to the business or you haven't picked this up, the defined standard benefit, Medicare creates the box that Part D must at least be, right? Hey, these are the basic thresholds of Part D. So all of your plans have to at least fit inside this box, period. Anything you want to do outside that box that's extra, well, that's on you. But you have to at least meet these box guidelines. So that's the standard benefit. So they're accusing Humana, saying that, hey, they were cooking the books to show them that when we bid for this Humana Walmart plan, that it's going to at least meet the defined standard benefit. But really, there's another set of books that say something completely different, that no, this plan doesn't meet the defined standard benefit. And why would they do that? Well, because that helps them get, one, the contract bid, and then if it's not providing the same level of benefit, they're making cheddar, right? The whistleblower alleged that Humana intentionally designed the Walmart plan to make a profit, paying less than 75% of the cost of drugs and passing the difference onto both beneficiaries and the government for low-income beneficiaries, right? Because this plan was, again, designed to create more value for the people that were low-income subsidy. And they apparently were not doing it. And apparently they're guilty because court said, hey, you're paying $90 million. There you go. That one we'll get in the group for you guys to check out as well. I got one final quick article, and then we're going to jump into some Medicare supplement training for the rest of it. This is from the Associated Press. Already put this in the group, so you guys can check this out. I just, I like it because Associated Press is telling it like it is. Prescription drug coverage options are shrinking for Medicare shoppers. Right here at the top, which is the paragraph that I quoted in the post in the group. The number of available standalone drug plans has fallen for a few years, and that trend will continue for 2026. Most markets will have several choices, but some options are becoming particularly sparse for shoppers with low-income subsidies, and help may be harder to find because some insurers no longer pay brokers commissions for new business. I feel like we can just let that sit for a minute and just it's kind of heavy, but just let it sit. Love it that they're just calling it like it is, right? I'm not going to go through this whole article again. It's in the group, but there's a couple of key things I want to put out, and it's right here. How is Part D changing? Well, the typical shopper will be able to choose a standalone drug plan from 8 to 12 options. That's not going to be everybody, but the typical shopper, so the average, is going to have 8 to 12 choices for their Part D plan in 2026. That is according to Kaiser Family Foundation Medicare expert Juliette Kubanski. But that's down from 12 to 16 options in 2025. So the average beneficiary right now has 12 to 16 choices for Part D. Next year, they're only going to have 8 to 12. It goes on to say that shoppers had nearly 30 choices as recently as 2021. And that was according to Commonwealth Fund's Gretchen Jacobson. So the arc is obviously that, and we know this already if you're in the business and you're paying attention, that the number of Part D plans we have had access to over the last several years has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And some of that is just blatantly from carriers completely exiting the market to carriers reducing their number of plans, right, et cetera. Some of these carriers used to have 3 plans. Now they got 1, as an example. So you can check some of that out in the group. That's all I need to say about that one, I think, for the most. But hey, let's give it up for AP for at least putting it out there right there that some insurers no longer pay broker commissions for new business on Part D. And I understand. There's a huge argument on this, right? Everybody's like, we're saying, hey, they can't pay. There's a group of us that are saying, look, I understand why they're not paying commissions. Look what the Inflation Reduction Act did to them. It squeezed them so hard they can't even afford to pay us. But then like, wait a second, but they're still making record profits in a lot of cases. And they're, defrauding the government for $90 million that apparently they can easily pay. Doesn't seem like there's a shortage of money to go around, does there? Anyway, let's jump into some training. So I might have a couple of screen shares that'll pop up here and there. But like I said, I wanted to talk to you guys about selling Medicare supplement products. I've been around this industry since 2004. When I got into the business, we only had Medicare supplements. We didn't have Medicare Advantage plans. We didn't have hospital indemnity plans. We had some cancer products. They were very limited. They certainly weren't as attractive as they are now. The dental plans that we had in 2004 were trash. Just tell your client, hey, man, just create your own savings account for dental. I don't know what to tell you. I can put you on this Smile Right plan, but there's like 2 doctors that accept it, and it's terrible. So you might as well, it only had like a $500 benefit. Like we basically only had, we had 2 real products to sell, depending on if you were working with people in lower income categories or higher income categories. You were either selling Medicare supplements and final expense, or you were selling Medicare supplements and annuities. Fast forward to today, the market's gotten much more complex. But the market is changing yet again. And this won't be true for every agent, of course. I know that we'll still primarily thrive selling a lot of Medicare Advantage plans this year, not because we're trying to push people to Medicare Advantage plans, but it's what they ask for. And we tend to follow the philosophy of do not argue with what the market wants you to give it. Just give it what it wants. But we do coach people on Medicare supplements, and we do sell a few. But if you're an agent that's in some of these other areas where PPO plans have pretty much were the only thing that were there and have been decimated, and maybe you've got one HMO and it's still non-commissionable for some reason, I feel for some of you guys that are in a few of these states and you're or even rural areas of larger states. Like if you're out in West Texas, you're going to have some struggles this year because the PPOs just aren't going to be as good. They're probably not paying commissions, number one. And there may or may not even be an HMO plan for you to sell that's worth shit, for lack of a better word. So selling Medicare supplements is going to be something that can help you while we hopefully get through this correction. There's a lot of us out there that are just calling it a correction. And I believe that is true. I mean, I look at, there's leaders way above me in this industry that know more than me, that are more tied in. I'm listening to them. You know, guys like Scott Miller, for example, some of the guys over at AmeriLife that I've worked with and known for years, like they're all still very, very bullish on our space. We're just going through a correction. And hopefully they will get this crap ironed out soon. You know, I'm hoping at least by 2027. But anyway, enough of that stuff. But learning to sell, the point being that learning to sell Medicare supplements well is going to be a great tool to put in your belt that will help you get through this and make some money. So we are going to talk about that quite a bit. I'm not going to get super in deep on training you on the benefit structures of Medicare supplement plans. Most of you probably already have a good idea of that. And if you're new enough that you don't really, that's fine. It's all in a chart, easy to read. The best thing I will tell you is that number one, don't try to memorize every single plan. It's a waste of your time and energy. Out of the 28 to 30 million people out there that are buying Medicare supplement plans, they're generally buying plans F, G, or N. There's a very, very small percentage buying anything other than that for the most part. A few states you might have, again, some minor exceptions. If you're in places like Minnesota, right, where it's not standardized and you have this kind of a la carte benefit selection that you build your plan on, right? Similar kind of thing. Like they're all still building mostly the same structure, like a plan G or a plan N. So pretty simply, just a fast review, plan F covers everything. And there's a lot of you I know out there like, well, you can't sell plan F anymore. Oh, you can still sell plan F. It's just a smaller group of people. You can't sell it to people that are new to Medicare. But I have clients that I'm still rewriting their plan F for them because they are still healthy enough to get to pass underwriting. I have clients that have aged into Medicare Part A as of 2020, but we're still working or still getting some other benefit or plan somewhere. Like there was an Asian gentleman that I took care of last year and wrote him on plan F. He had to go through underwriting and everything, and he was well over age, but he had been sitting around on a Medicare Advantage plan for a while and finally got tired of it. It was like, I want something better. And it was mainly he wanted something better because he saw what his wife was going through. She was unfortunately in very, very bad shape, had a plan F, and basically had some of the best health care that he cared for, or as far as he was concerned, because he didn't have any bills and she got to choose all her own doctors. He's like, I want what that looks like, even though he was super healthy. So I wrote him a plan F. So there are definitely people out there that you can write plan F that want it. I wouldn't advocate that plan F is the right plan to buy. It all depends on their needs, their wants, etc. In some cases, you might be forced to write plan F because it's a guarantee issue situation because of loss of coverage. And that's one of the only plans that you're allowed to write guarantee issue on that person. But that is the true first dollar coverage plan. They pay their premium. They don't pay anything else. Plan G is almost the same. They just have the Part B deductible, which currently is $257, probably going up next year. We're looking at numbers probably somewhere between $278 to like $285, I think. I haven't seen anything higher than that as far as projections, but nobody's that I've seen yet has set anything in stone. Once they meet that deductible, it's going to operate like a plan F, right? And that Part B deductible is doctors and medical services. So it's all outpatient. In most cases, it's paid in piecemeal, you know, like 40, 50 bucks at a time, depending on how often they're seeing the doctor and how extensive those Part B visits are. And then once they meet their deductible, they're done. Plan N, slightly different for a much better premium or lower premium, right? You still meet your $257 deductible for Part B. After that, you got a flat up maximum $20 copayment for additional doctor visits in the same year. And again, that's up to 20. It's not always going to be 20. There's sometimes I've had beneficiaries that go to their chiropractor and like, yeah, he only charged me $9. Or their acupuncture or whoever it might, not acupuncture, but chiropractor or rehab is what I was thinking. They'll go to see some of those people, physical therapists, whatnot, and they might not get charged the full $20 for that specialist. Maybe they're only getting charged 8, 9, 10, 12, but the most they would pay is 20. They get the $50 emergency room copayment, but they waive it if they end up being admitted to the hospital, and it doesn't cover excess charges. So maybe depending on where you are regionally, that may or may not be a concern on Plan N. I've been doing this for 21 years. I've been selling plans such as Plans D, not Part D, Medicare Supplement Plan D, and Plan E, an old Medicare supplement we used to sell back in the day when this wasn't all gray and I had more hair. Those didn't cover excess charges either. And they were two of the best plans, in my opinion, to offer people. I've sold thousands of Medicare supplements at this point over the years. I have never had anybody come back and complain about excess charges. Not a one. I'm not saying they don't exist, but the math tells you that it's extremely limited subset. 99% of doctors accept Medicare. 97% of those doctors accept Medicare assignment, which is the fee for structure base of Medicare, just exactly as it's presented, right? For the doctors that don't want to accept assignment, they're allowed to charge maximum 15% on top of the fee that Medicare considers as usual and customary, right? So for simple, easy representation, let's say certain procedures $10,000 and they go to a specialist that doesn't accept assignment, he's allowed to charge another $1,500. If you're on a plan N or a D or an E that I sold you from long ago, you would have to pay that $1,500. If you're on G or F that covers excess charges, you would pay nothing. Again, I have a pretty damn large sample size. I've never seen it. Not saying it doesn't exist, just saying it's extremely slim. From my understanding, most people that are dealing with excess charges are in the Northeast. I could be wrong. So those are kind of the three plans. Like if you learn those three plans, that's all you need to learn about Medicare supplements for the most part. Don't waste your time memorizing plan A, plan B. Not that they're that difficult. Just know those three plans, period. That's what everybody's buying. But when we're looking at selling Medigap effectively, and actually let me rewind just a little bit to make sure everybody is up to speed. Just in case, again, because I don't know who all's in the audience. I see a bunch of people viewing, so I'm not just going to assume you're all knowledgeable. Medicare Supplement's different than Medicare Advantage on a couple of ways, right? Medicare Supplement just attaches to original Medicare. Wherever original Medicare goes, your Medicare Supplement travels with you. The doctor doesn't care who your Medicare Supplement is with, whether it's with Aetna, Blue Cross, Humana, Polish Falcons of America. He does not care. All he wants to know is that you have Medicare with the supplement. That's it. He's going to bill Medicare. Medicare is going to bill the supplement, and it's all bing, bang, pow. The odds that your client would ever have to deal with the claims issue is extremely, extremely limited. I've only had, again, a couple of times where someone's brought me a claim that I had to get resubmitted. And it was usually something simple, billing code error. Maybe this is a long time ago, but there were a few doctors that were still filing shit on paper. But it's pretty much all electronic crossover and perfected now. So from a back office service standpoint, Medicare supplements are kind of the Ron Popeil of the business. You can set it and forget it, man. So the big thing behind Medicare supplements that are attractive, other than the premium, is that you get full access to choose all your own doctors because 99% of providers nationwide, all 50 states plus Puerto Rico, accept Medicare. So as long as that doctor accepts original Medicare, they'll accept your supplement. So that's one of the big selling points. So if we're going to sell them effectively, the first thing we have to understand is who is our real target audience. Who is our real target audience if we're going to sell Medicare supplements? We already know they have to be on Medicare, but it can't just be everybody that's 65 and older that has A and B, because some of those people have Medicaid. We can't sell them a Medicare supplement. That's illegal, right? Because Medicaid already takes care of that 20% coinsurance for them, right? So who are our audience that would prefer a Medicare supplement plan? Well, number one, they obviously have to be on Medicare A and B. And they're going to be clients that prefer a more predictable out-of-pocket cost, right? If their plan G is $100 a month, they know pretty much exactly what they're going to spend every year going to the doctor and the hospital. There's no surprises, right? They don't go from having no expenses one month to all of a sudden like, oh no, $10,000 or my MOOP, whatever, $93.50, right? They know exactly what they're spending. So these are budget-minded people. They want predictable cost, something they can manage, right? Pretty simple. They are also those people that value freedom of choice. They want to see any doctor. They're guys like me that are freedom junkies. Nobody's going to tell me which doctor I'm allowed to go see. That doctor can tell me, hey, sorry, I'm not accepting new patients, right? But I'm going to be the one that chooses my healthcare. I want to be in the driver's seat of that, right? which includes, like, if you look at the kind of dichotomy or secondary version of that, these are people, if they want the freedom to choose any doctor nationwide, these could also be people that have already experienced Medicare Advantage plans and are dissatisfied with their network, right? So it doesn't necessarily just have to be the guy that's coming out of the gate, freedom junkie. I want to be able to see any doctor. I'm the driver's seat. But it's also that group subset that, oh, I've been on a Medicare Advantage plan and it had a terrible network. I don't want to deal with referrals. I want less prior authorization. I want more freedom of choice, right? So there's kind of two versions. Other part of your target audience is travelers, snowbirds, as they call them, right? People that live in the north in the summer and the south in the winter. Your Medicare travels with you everywhere you go. Now, if you have someone that is living in 2 locations in the U.S., the location that matters from their resident address and their premium that you're going to quote them will be the one that they're paying taxes out of, right? So whatever address they are paying their taxes registered as, right, that's the address that you're going to have to use to get their premium, right? So you might have someone that has a Colorado home in the summertime, but they're living in Florida in the winter. So again, whichever of those addresses they're using as their primary residence to pay their taxes, that's the rate you got to quote them, or the zip code that you would quote them, right? Also, part of your target audience for Medicare supplements is those with chronic conditions seeking stable coverage. Obviously, underwriting can become an issue here, right? So this, I would say your best bet in that subset of your audience is going to be those that are turning 65 and have chronic conditions already. Could even be people that are on Medicare disability under age 65, but then they cross that 65-year-old threshold. They're going to get another 6 months of open enrollment to choose any Medicare supplement they want. No pre-existing conditions, no evidence of insurability, instant coverage, which is a really nice silver lining for those folks. How can you find those people? How can I find people that are in Medicare, want predictable out-of-pocket costs? They want freedom of choice to be in the driver's seat, or they've had dissatisfaction with their Medicare Advantage plan network, or they're travelers or snowbirds, or they have chronic conditions. How can we find them? Well, if you have a book of business, start there, right? Always look in your own backyard first, because it's right in front of you, should be within immediate grasp. You're not multiple relationships away, it's right there. So look in your own backyard first. Do you have a book of Medicare Advantage enrollees, right, that are now being disenrolled, or maybe the network's being disrupted for some reason? Maybe they're like, yeah, you know what? These Medicare Advantage plans do kind of suck. You're right. I should bounce over to a Medicare supplement plan. And understand that when I say statements like this, I'm not talking about everybody collectively. There are certain states, regions, areas, I get it, where Medicare Advantage is obviously the smarter choice. But when we're talking about rural America and the larger geographic footprint, that's kind of a pretty arguable point. The Medicare supplement is usually going to be a higher level of quality healthcare, at least, especially when it comes to access of healthcare, right? And I don't think anybody with any experience in this business would argue that. So number one, so again, start in your own backyard. Like, look at your book. Do you have anybody being disrolled? Are there any plan exits, major network disruptions? And reach out to those clients first, right? Or maybe crosswalks. They might be getting crosswalked somewhere, and that new plan they're getting crosswalked to isn't in their best benefit, right? So that would be another group of folks to look at. Now, for those that are in that space that their plan is exiting and they're losing coverage involuntarily by no fault of their own, unfortunately, not fortunately for them, I should say, they qualify for guarantee issue in a Medicare supplement. They're going to get a special election period for 63 days, starting the day that they lose coverage, where they can file an application and get guarantee issue on a select set of Medicare supplement plans. And that select set is going to be based on their Part A eligibility date, before or after the year 2020. I'm not going to get into all those details. We don't have enough time to really dive into macro. Hopefully you're up to speed on that. But understand that they're going to get guarantee issue option. Now, you don't have to exercise that option, right? Let's say, for example, and Matter of fact, this Asian man that I referenced earlier, this is a perfect example because this is exactly the space he fell into, right? If you're going to use guarantee, let's say, for example, they're ill, they're chronic, there's no way you can get them through underwriting. And they qualify for guarantee issue, but you want to make some cheddar because that's the point. If you guarantee issue them into a Medicare supplement plan, the vast majority of states, this is also a state rule. So you might live in a state that doesn't allow insurance companies to reduce the commissions for guarantee issue business outside of open enrollment. Most states do. And most carriers are going to take advantage of that allowance to not pay you commissions when you hand them a sick patient or sick client with a bunch of claims on the books, right? So they're usually going to pay you something like 3% or $25 as a one-time commission, and that's it. So you're not going to get rich or make a ton of money by grabbing those people that are losing their plans involuntarily and guarantee issuing them in a plan, but you are going to do them a hell of a service. And then they still might, even though they might not be healthy enough to qualify for some Medicare supplement underwriting, you might have some other options you can still get out of them to help them out. Maybe it's a dental, vision, hearing plan, right? Maybe it's a guarantee issue. Wouldn't be a hospital indemnity plan in this case, but guarantee issue final expense is even available. So there might be some options in there that you can look at. What else? But just because they qualify for guarantee issue doesn't mean you have to use it, right? Because again, most of these people they're going to be guarantee issued either into a plan F or a plan G, and that may or may not be the best plan for them, right? And this is my point with the Asian gentleman. I guarantee issued his wife into plan F because she was sick. No way she's going to pass underwriting. And had a bunch of chronic illnesses. So I guarantee issued her into plan F because it was the only plan for her eligibility date range that I could guarantee issue her into. He, on the other hand, even at 82 years old or whatever he was super healthy. And I just underwrote him a plan in and made full comp on it and took great care of him with a great plan, right? So understand, kind of just be very aware of your options there so that you're not just sitting there going, ooh, let me go chase a bunch of disenrollees from Medicare Advantage and guarantee issue them all into Plan F for $25 a pop. You better be a savvy cross marketer when you run across those folks, or savvy enough field underwriter that you can recognize, hey, I can probably get this guy approved on something that is more efficient than an overpriced Plan F, as an example. Other ways that you can find those folks, if you happen to have any PDP only clients, meaning they only have a PDP with you, call those people back and try to cross-sell them a Medicare supplement plan. Hopefully you don't have any people in your book that only have a PDP with you, but you might. Go to those folks and see if you can offer them a Medicare supplement plan. My favorite place to find Medicare supplement leads is in the turning 65 space, man. We advertise on Facebook. We advertise directly to them. It's not hard, honestly, to get the algorithm to play well for you on Facebook land to deliver T65 people to you. I was terrified when they told us we had to move to a special ad category and they were going to eliminate some of that manual targeting. But actually, I'm getting a better cost per lead and cost per acquisition using the exact same ads I was already using. All I did was update the copy to make sure that Facebook understands, hey, I'm trying to talk to Spanish-speaking 65-year-olds or 64-year-olds even. Does a great job at it. So it's not hard to sort them out that way. You can buy turning 65 leads everywhere. Lead Heroes is probably one of the more reputable places to get them, but there is no shortage of where you can go find leads. Seminars, right? You can do seminars for people turning 65 and talk to them about the value of Medicare supplement. And while I'm on that subject, and again, yeah, we will probably go over today, so hang in there with me. But while I'm on that subject, number one, understand you do not have to teach every Medicare beneficiary about every single granular aspect of Medicare. If you want to sell Medicare supplements, if that's your goal, then quit talking about Medicare Advantage. I've said this before on the station. If you're a car salesman and you're trying to sell Fords, why the hell are you talking about Mercedes or anything else? You should only be talking about the product you want to sell. Or if you're going to talk about it, you should be talking about it in a negative light. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there is plenty of negative content and news that you can show, verifiable news about the Medicare Advantage space that you can use to build your own content and your own story and your own testimony of why you believe that Medicare supplements are the best healthcare money can buy for the senior. There's nothing wrong with that opinion. Unless you're an asshole in Miami-Dade where everything's 0, and you're just trying to flex $300 monthly premiums on people. That's a different story. That guy's a jerk. But in the vast majority of the geographic footprint of the lovely United States, especially in these big rural areas, Medicare supplements, the only way you're going to get good access and cover your bills with predictable costs. So there's nothing wrong with you in the right area with the right target audience to frame that belief that, hey, for this group of people that live in this space, Medicare supplements the best access, and here's why I believe that. So I'm going to just go back to that one more time. You are not required to teach people every single product, every single plan, every single benefit that Medicare offers. If you think that's what your job is, you're wrong. I'm sorry. There's no compliance rules that say you have to do that. There is no moral ethical code that says you have to do that. Your job is to, as the expert, the licensed expert that studies all of this material, they're coming to you for a reason because you're the expert. Stop trying to force your clients to be the expert by over-educating them on everything that needs or that is out there, right? Your job is to find what's out there and build a testimony for what fits best for this audience. This is what I think is most of my clients look towards this. This is what I advise my clients to choose. And there's nothing wrong with that, period. So if you want to sell Medicare supplement plans, quit talking about Medicare Advantage, number one, right? So if I'm going to do a seminar, and this is where this came up, I'm just going to do a seminar based on Medicare transition, Medicare supplement plans, why they're important. I'm going to go hard on them. I might include some negative news content on Medicare Advantage in the local area so that it jives, or at least test cases or something to that effect. And then I'm going to show them how to go get their own Part D plan at this point. That's pretty much where we're at, right? And then beyond that, once they become a client, I'm going to cross-market them on some other stuff, which is what I really hope we have time for. So, right, you can compare the sides all you want, and you can learn to compare them generic. And this is a great point because you do not need a scope of appointment to talk about Medicare Advantage plan in general. You only need a scope to show them specific plans, right? So I can get a customer on the phone, talk about Medicare supplements all day, and they can be, what about these Medicare Advantage plans? I can tell them very simply, oh, that's a privatized version of Medicare. So instead of Medicare paying your claims, you're allowing Humana, Aetna, or United Healthcare to be in the driver's seat and pay your claims. You might save some money on premium every month, but in trade, you're going to have co-payments, co-insurance, and deductibles to use along the way. And that insurance company's network is going to tell you what type of healthcare you deserve. So you just have to tell me, Mr. Jones, are you the type of Medicare beneficiary that wants to decide which doctors work on you, or do you want someone else to determine your quality of healthcare? Because I can show you either way. You don't need a scope to say things like that. A few other quick just marketing rules, because this is another part. Not only are Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans two different worlds from a product and access to care world, but they're also two different in the compliance and marketing rules. All of the bullshit that you see on AHIP, the reason we have to take AHIP, all of the marketing regulations, recorded phone calls, no code calling, no cross-marketing of life or annuity products on the same sale, all of that crap is only applicable when you're marketing Medicare Advantage or Medicare drug plans. That's it. Period. If your scripting, language, testimony, frame, and sales structure is designed to find, generate, and close Medicare supplement leads, you can throw all that crap out the window. You can door knock, you can cold call, you can cross market any product you want on the same sale. And you don't even have to record your phone calls. Although I might be a little leery on that one. I know that it's not in the rules for selling Medicare supplements, but if I'm selling by phone, I'm probably still going to record my Medigap sales call just in case I get a CTM. That would be extremely rare if I'm doing. I mean, I've never had a complaint to Medicare in my life. I've been doing this a long time. Never had a single complaint, but it varies, right? I don't have agents that complain about me too much either to my customers. But most of my customers are also Medicare supplement customers who know exactly what they're buying and they want it and they can't wait to use it because they're in charge. But anyway, all of that marketing crap that exists in the Medicare Advantage and Part D world, I do not need to pay attention to any of that if I'm only selling Medicare supplements. And I can run that way all I want. Now, if my client or my prospect interrupts me and says, hey, what about these Medicare Advantage plans? I'm going to give you that script that has told you, oh, Medicare Advantage plans are a privatized version of Medicare. Instead of Medicare handling your claims, now you're assigning them to a private insurance company. And while they might save you in monthly premiums, you're allowing them to be in the driver's seat of your healthcare. So it's a network-driven plan where they get to choose your doctors, providers, etc. Whereas over here, you can have freedom of choice to go anywhere you want in the nation. Which type of beneficiary are you? And if he says, oh, I'm really interested in those, I'm going to say, no problem. Go ahead and sign a couple documents real quick, intake form, because I'm going to need to do some work to find out what are other plans available in your area. And then 48 hours later, I'm going to come back and pitch him. That is 100% compliant, ethical practice, period. So know the rules in your marketing space as well as you're going behind this, right? So again, we've been kind of talking a little bit about our audience and some of the sales stuff in there. Understand your customers' motivations, right? Stable, predictable medical costs. They want to know what they're spending every month. Okay. They want freedom from network limitations. Now, speaking of cost, let's talk about that for a second, because that is super important. And that's a portion of our audience that we have to understand, right? Because we know we can't sell to people that have Medicaid, as far as we can't sell Medicare supplements to them. That's against the rules. That is coloring outside the lines and will get you a complaint to Medicare and probably even other problems, right? So that's a segment of our audience. But they also have to be able to afford a premium. So there needs to be, they can't be in Medicaid land, but they still got to be able to afford some premiums. Because as you know, their options are, let's go with the all-in-one plan that's zero or low premium and pay as I go. Or if I'm going to go the Medicare supplement route, I'm going to end up having to design a healthcare package that meets all my needs. It needs to cover my hospital, my medical, hopefully dental or vision if I do truly need that. They may or may not need that. They have to have a drug plan still, right? So we're adding more premium there. So we're adding more monthly cost on top of it. So we know this person has to be able to afford some monthly costs. But what do they want? Predictable. And that's what they're looking for. So I've looked at it, and this is going to vary depending on what state you are in, right? Because Medicare supplement rates are not universal across every state. Again, if you're a guy in Florida, these numbers are going to look totally different than if you're in Central Texas like me. Same for Illinois, Maine, Pennsylvania, etc. So which, again, none of this is absolute. I'm talking to my real audience that I'm talking here at the people in the rural areas that got shafted on Medicare Advantage this year because they lost their PPOs or they all became non-commissionable, right? So look in your area and know what are the average rates for Medicare supplement plans. I can tell you in Texas, for a 65-year-old Plan G, I'm looking at basically $80. It's like 78 and change. But they don't just need that. They also need a dental and vision plan, right? I'm looking at probably $40 there. They need a drug plan. Hopefully, if they're good and healthy, I can get them, just help them enroll in a $0 drug plan or point them to how they enroll in a $0 drug plan, right? I can teach them that. But I'm going to add average budget of around $20 to $40 a month for scripts. But again, every person's different. And then I'm going to always try to get a home healthcare plan in there when we're looking at cross-marketing and bundling type stuff. Like when I'm thinking about my ideal customer, I'm thinking about the customer that can afford and wants that healthcare package, my best healthcare package. What does that cost in your state? What does it cost a Medicare beneficiary to have Part B every month, to have a plan in, to have a dental and vision plan, to have a fair drug plan on average, and to have a home health care plan, short-term care, 360 days in skilled nursing or at their house. What does that package look like? Because that's my ideal health package. I'm not just thinking about the budget for their Medicare supplement plan. That's short-term thinking. I'm trying to create a customer for life and take care of them the best that I can. So my best healthcare package, in my opinion, includes number one, your Medicare Part B, a plan in Medicare supplement, a dental and vision plan through Emeritus, which depends on the area, drug plan, and home healthcare plan. Now in Texas, Central Texas, for a 65-year-old, that's going to start at about $375 a month. And again, that includes their Part B premium. That is a drive-out cost. And if you don't think most shoppers, when they're thinking about products or decisions like this, think about it from a monthly budget, oh, they very much do. Especially these folks that are on a fixed income, whether that fixed income is Social Security, whether it's maybe their government pension or their employer pension, if there's anybody still actually paying those, or maybe it's their annuity that they've annuitized and is paying out to them, and they know exactly how much money they got coming in every month. So they know exactly how much they got going out every month, and they know how much they can budget for healthcare. Now, I found this article. This is from RBC Wealth Management. Let me see. That's not the right one. Share it fast. There it is. Not going through the whole article. I just want to pull this piece out right here that's highlighted. It says, as with any kind of saving, your most valuable asset is time. The more money you can sock away in your early years, the better off you'll be, blah, blah, blah. Shortly, it says that the average person spends about $13,000 a year on healthcare from age 65 to 74. $13,000 a year. Does that number jive? Well, I did my math here in Texas. That's pretty on point. That's super on point because I'm looking at about, I'm under that. I'm looking at about $375 a month to get the healthcare package that I want you to have. That includes Part B cost, plan in, hospital medical, dental, vision, and hearing, drugs, and a 360-day home healthcare product. $375 a month. That is slightly under $4,800 a year per person. So I'm looking at $9,600 a year for a couple. Now, I know those rates, especially on the Medicare supplement, are going to gently go up. It's another reason why I write plan in, is because the rate trends on plan in have already been proven to be historically lower than plan G or F or anything else. So I'm, again, trying to think long term. If my client only gets an 8 to 10% rate increase, they're usually not going to bitch. But if I start signing them up plans like an overpriced plan F or overpriced plan G with certain carriers out there, I won't name any names like Mutual of Omaha or anybody that have a history of very, very, very high rate increases, I'm going to have trouble keeping that person on the book. So I'm trying to come at this from a Ron Popeil standpoint of how can I build them a healthcare package that is pretty much set it and forget it. And just be there to answer the calls when they need them, send them a birthday card, give them a phone call every once in a while to check in and make sure they know how to handle their drug piece of the whole equation. Other than that, they are hooked up like Chuck. So I'm looking at $375 a month in Texas for my ideal client. I don't know what your number is. Add it up. Part B is going to be the same. Part B is going to go up. We're looking at probably 205 next year. So that number, my number is going to jump up to about 390, maybe still 400, but I'm still coming in below 9,600 annually for the couple. That's exactly, they know exactly what they're spending every month with that kind of knowledge or that kind of protection, right? If I put them on a Medicare Advantage plan, it might bounce up and down and they might hit their MOOP. And if I'm able to do it for 4,800, yes, there are some MOOPs out there that are better than 4,800, but not much for good benefits to boot, right? 9,350 is the current MOOP. So if I'm look at it from that angle, if I'm selling them a MOOP that's $9,350, but I can actually get them super good quality of care for $4,800 a year. Granted, one is guaranteed, one is not. Like those different ways to frame that and look at it from an annual cost perspective, right? But we're talking about that person that prefers predictable cost? What can I budget for every month, right? So I am looking, my ideal target is someone that can budget about $400 a month, including their Part B cost and their drug cost, right? I'm looking at it from an all-encompassing space because I am going to pitch them that entire package when I get in front of them or on the phone with them. So now, let's take that budget and look at it from an income standpoint. This is where it starts to get pretty fun. Let's see, where did I see this? I can't locate it at the moment, but I saw an article, I might have accidentally closed it, that said that the recommended amount to budget for healthcare is somewhere between 3 to 5% of your income. I think we can just throw that bullshit out the window because we know they're going to spend way more than that, right? And how do we know that? Well, we already know that for a healthcare package anywhere near this, they're looking at $400 a month. Now, there's not much. I'm not gouging. I can cut $100 out of that to get rid of the home healthcare and the dental as an example. And then we still get hospital, medical, Part B plus drugs and knock it down to, what is that? $300 a month, basically, right? So $3,600. But what's the median income for a 65-year-old? Anybody know that answer? Put it in the chat if you know it. Drop it in the comments. Well, I will just tell you what the median income is. The median income and this is based on ACL, which is the Administration for Community Living, which is actually an operational department of Health and Human Services. And that includes the Administration on Aging. So I'm looking at the whole report that they've got that's up to date's got 2022 and 2023 numbers mixed in. But basically, they're going to tell us that the average income of individuals age 65 up in 2022 is $29,740. So if the average 65-year-old is only making, we're just going to round it up to 30 grand. I'm looking for a pretty good piece of that. I'm looking for about 15% of their income. If I want 4,800, if I want 6,000, that's a fifth. I'm sorry, that's 20% of their income. If I want 6K, which would be the higher end, if I'm trying to sell them at $500 a month as an example, right? My number's at 375, so I'm a little under that. I'm around 14% of their income. And again, that's the median income, right? Those aren't going to be my perfect ideal targets, but I just want to give you an idea of where they're at. Men tend to have a little higher median income at 37,000. Females slightly lower at 24,000. And again, these are 65-year-olds. Household income, two people, it's not much more. It's at 50K for household, marriage, and so forth. And then, where's it? Oh, married couples. I'm sorry. This is households where they're unmarried, but more than one person, and the householder is 65 and older. That is 50K. Married couples average is 76,000. A little higher there, right? But if I want them to easily be able to afford this, I need to look at another subset of folks a little more. So how many 65-year-olds are making more than 50K? Half of them, according to, again, the Administration of Community Living, it says here. So there's I think there's right at 66 million, plus or minus. I think minus maybe a little. So let's say 66 million, and half of them are making at least 50K. So that's 33 million people right there making at least 50,000 a year. And I'm looking to get about 10% of that, again, depending on my state that I live in and what my rates turn out to be for all these items. A little heavy still for some people. I mean, if you're making 50K and you're having to spend $500 a month on healthcare, it's probably not your favorite thing to be doing. But I know that we do have seniors that are willing to do that and are doing it because they understand that that is something extremely valuable to them. So they're maybe a little more willing to pay a higher price and get better quality of health care. But let's break that subset down some more. So I went ahead and asked around. I'm going to tell you that I used AI as part of my sources here to help me reference some sources where I got from actually Congress, as well as that the Pension Rights Center, RCB Wealth Management, and this Administration of Community Living is where most of this data came from. But I thought, well, this was interesting. I asked, hey, what's the percentage of 65-year-olds making more than 100,000? What's that group look like? Well, unfortunately, there is no precise percentage available because they don't break that income down that deep generally in most statistics. They're just looking there. How many of them make 50K and up? That's half of them, right? But here's what we can find out. According to a Congressional Research Service report, I did find this that said about 1/5 of households that were headed by someone 65 or older had an income of $116,000. So that's where the head of household is 65 and up, more than one person living there, and about 1/5. So that's 20% of them. Well, 20% of 66 million, that's about 15 million people, maybe a little less, maybe 13 million people. That's a pretty big market. We can even let's get super granular with it. What percentage of 65-year-olds are making $260,000 a year? Again, there is no hard stat on that, but here is some great information that will help you understand it. Fewer than 7% of all U.S. households earn $250,000 or more annually. And the percentage of citizens age 65 or older with that level of income is significantly smaller. No official data specifies the exact percentage of citizens 65 and up with an annual income that high. However, database yada, 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 right? So if 7% of all citizens earn less than 250 grand or earn more than 250 grand, and the number is significantly lower with seniors age 65 and up, which I would think it is, let's cut it down to 2%. Let's just say 2% of seniors earn 260,000, 250K or more, right? Well, that's still 3 million. That's more than 3 million beneficiaries. It's a lot of people, man. Or I'm sorry, that's 5%. 1.2 million. I've got a few different notes over here on the scratch pad. Sorry, missed one. That's about 1.2, 1.3 million people. Still a very, very sizable group, especially when you do the math of what it takes to make money in this industry. You only need 4,000 Medicare beneficiaries in your book paying you Medicare supplement premiums to earn $1 million. That is 0.005% of the whole marketplace. 5/1000ths of 1%. So if I know there's at least 1.2 million that make 260,000 or more, that's a really good group of people that can easily afford a Medicare supplement plan. Now it's got to create marketing campaigns to target those people in different fashions, right? And depending on your state, you may have all kinds of opportunities and availabilities to you to find that. And if you're selling by phone, it's not that hard to even break it down either. As a matter of fact, just to give you an example of how dope data is, especially now, and if you are looking for some really, really sick data, you need to talk to my buddy Joe Campert. He's got a deal going with this thing called Policy Pixel. It's nuts, the kind of data that he can help you pull. But I'll just show you this real quick. Is this on the screen? Yeah. So this is out of this booklet that I'm getting a lot of these stats from, the profile of older Americans from the American Community of Living. That's out of this, one of the operational HHS divisions. But they have this whole list of the number of people 65 and older by state. It even tells you the percent that are below poverty. Data like this is super important. If you're in one of these states, it'll help give you some ideas. If you're selling by phone, it gives you some really good states to target on, where I have a high population And then I can go deeper and I can look into income levels in some of those areas. And I can start shaping my data to get that ideal audience of 65-year-olds that have some money. They don't have to have a ton, but they have to have enough that they can comfortably spend about $500 a month or less, or maybe more, depending again on the state that you live in and what your rates look like. That is 100% how I'm going to go about selling Medicare supplement plans in that angle, right? And I know a lot of this has really been hammered on really nailing the target audience down, but I think that's the biggest part of it, right? Other reasons that we should sell Medicare supplement plans is, I'd already kind of mentioned this when I went through my ideal healthcare package, is the cross-marketing opportunities, right? Medicare Advantage is all in one. You can cross-market some hospital indemnity, a few other things, but Medicare Supplement is like building your own custom rack stereo. I need a receiver, I need a record player, I need a CD player, I need a tape deck, I need the equalizer, I need it all in a beautiful case. Same kind of thing. I'm going to need Part B, I'm going to need my plan in, I need some dental and vision, I need my drug plan, and I need a home health care plan. That's an ideal package, right? So you have massive cross-selling opportunities. When you're selling, you want to do a needs-based approach. What are your needs? What is important to you, right? And you want to focus on value, not that premium. And this is especially true when I sell face-to-face, I bundle all this stuff together and I present it like a drive-out price. I've talked about bundling in here before. I'm going to explain it super quick, and then I'm going to jet. Bundling is simple. At the top of your sheet, the top half, explain what Medicare A and B looks like. Medicare A is of no cost. Covers your hospital minus a $1,676 deductible. Part B costs you $185 a month. Includes a 20% coinsurance. That coinsurance, Mr. Jones, is uncapped. This is how it looks like in the real world. A doctor visit, 20% is maybe $50, no big deal. Average hospital stay is 3 days, and in Texas is about $15,000. Now your 20% is looking closer to $3,000. Have a heart attack, stroke, contract something chronic. Now we're looking at 5 figures or more, 6 figures even for some of these problems. That's what that 20% looks like in the real world. Medicare also gives you 20 free days of skilled nursing. The average beneficiary needs 37. Those next 17 are going to cost you $209.50 a day. If you're in there more than 100 days, you're going to have to pay all the cost. That's what Medicare A and B look like. No dental, no drugs. What I can do is I can take all of that and make it look like this. And then you write out the benefits of your healthcare package. And then you ask them 2 simple questions. Does that sound like the type of healthcare you would prefer? Yes, it does. Excellent. Does that a budget that fits does that price fit your budget within your needs? Yes, it is. Excellent. A little bit of paperwork to do, and we're going to have you on your way. Y'all have an awesome Tuesday. I know I went over a few minutes. I tried not to go over too long. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time on Tuesday Training.